Hello, welcome to Matters of Decorum. I'm Scott Quorum. This is what matters to me. I got a request on a recent video to talk about the dice involved in Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games in general. Thank you for the request. I really appreciate getting those. It lets me know that you're engaged, and I do like explaining things. That's why I've got a YouTube channel. I forget that there are people who are just getting into this. I shouldn't. I like to be an educator in times like this and bring new people to the table. And dice is one of those topics that is so baseline, so inherent to what I've been doing since I was 12 that, oh God, forever, that I forget that not everybody knows what the shiny Click-Clack math rocks are for. I love that term, shiny Click-Clack math rocks. A couple of friends of mine started using that, and now I'm kind of on board with the term. Your dice are random number generators. They will generate a random number between 1 and some higher number, that being the total number of sides of the dice. The abbreviation DX, D is for dice, and X is the number of sides that dice has, which denotes the number it goes to. Your standard set of polyhedral dice will include a D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, and a D20. Past this, you might be asked to roll percentile dice. That is basically 2D10, where you are declaring that one of those is your tens column and one is the ones column. Some sets of dice include a 10-sided dice that is denoted 10, 20, 30 instead of 1, 2, 3, specifically for rolling percentiles with. And that will give you a number between 1 and 100, or randomly generating any percentile. Really, really good for systems or situations where you want to nail home how razor thin your possibility of success in a situation is, where you might make it by 1% or 2. Other variations, the D3 is rolling a D6 and dividing it by 2, or some systems which rely on a 3-sided dice to generate a number between 1 and 3 will give you a 6-sided dice that has the 1, 2, and 3 printed on it on 2 different faces. And then, of course, there's always flipping a coin, which is also a D2, technically, generating a random number between 1 and 2, or a binary choice of heads or tails. Dice come in many varieties, colors, shapes, sizes. I've been collecting these since I was 12. This one in particular is from the first set I ever got from a bookstore when I was 12 at Westport Plaza in St. Louis. D6, it was a full set that came with the black crayon that you rubbed over it and then rubbed off so that you'd fill in the numbers, because they didn't come inked back in those days. I have a problem. Do you need that many dice? No, no one needs that many dice. What are the dice for? Different things in different systems, but I will address Dungeons and Dragons in particular because it's the game that's currently king of the zeitgeist. When you are playing Dungeons and Dragons, sitting down, tabletop playing, everyone's got their characters going, and you're all in the action. A D20 is what you're going to use most often. That's going to be for resolving your tasks and resolving your success in combat. D20 is the core of the mechanic for Dungeons and Dragons. You might need 2. you can get by with 1, because that's just what you roll to get your number between 1 and 20. Add that to your bonuses, subtract any penalties, and see if you've hit the target number for the task that you're currently trying to do, set by the dungeon master. If you are given advantage or disadvantage on a roll because of something that you've done in role playing, or because you have an ability in your character that gives you advantage in certain times, or someone else's ability gives you a disadvantage, you might want 2d20, because what you are doing there is rolling both of them. With advantage, you are getting rolling 2d20 and taking the best of the two numbers, or the highest of the two numbers. If you have disadvantage, you're rolling 2d20 and taking the lowest of the two numbers. A mechanic so smooth and clean, it makes me a little sick every time I use it, because I didn't come up with it. Which leaves a number of other dice. Those are in your play while you're doing stuff. Those are for generating damage for the most part. The lighter and smaller a weapon, the less damage it does, the smaller the dice. A dagger, a shuriken, D4. Larger weapons, short swords will do a D6. Your standard sword will do a D8. So a longbow. Big swords do a D10. Giant axe do a D12. Or sometimes more than one dice. Before you get to actually playing at the table, though, if you are generating your own character, you're doing character generation and starting from scratch, and you're getting your stats and choosing your classes and races, you are going to need D6s for your statistics. 3 of them for each statistic, or once for each statistic. You roll 3d6, add the numbers, and record that, so it can be assigned to a statistic. That will give you a number between 3 and 18. Thanks to the bell curve distribution of rolling multiple dice, that's going to tend towards a median of 9 to 12, which is a perfectly average stat in D&D. 3s are bad, 18s are good. You have the exact same chance of rolling an 18 as you do of rolling a 3. Quick aside, because D&D characters are generally heroic, meant to be larger than life. Sometimes average simply will not do. You roll 6 numbers and assign them to 6 different statistics, and you're really hoping that you've got a high number in a statistic important to what your character does, so that they are very good at it. Some dungeon masters will hedge this bet by increasing the odds you're going to get a good number. By, say, having you roll 4d6 and take the best 3. Or by rolling your 3d6, but re-rolling any 1s, or 1s and 2s. At the outside edge of that, rolling 4d6, take the best 3, re-roll 1s and 2s, which will tend to give you very good numbers. You can still get a perfectly average roll. You're probably not going to get a terrible roll. And will give you a more robust character in the long run, at least stat-wise. Stats aren't everything, but they help. Your other dice, your 4s, 6s, 8s, 10s, during character creation, mostly useful for generating your hit points. Different character classes will have different hit dice that are rolled to determine how many hit points you get per level. And the more robust a character class, the larger the die is going to be. studious, thoughtful types like wizards and whatnot might have a D4 or a D6. Fighters and barbarians might have a D10 or D12. And that's basically it. The dungeon master will often have charts and tables that they need to roll on during the course of the adventure. Sometimes players as well, which will specify what die you roll to get the values that you're looking for to compare for the chart. Uh, I would. You can piecemeal your dice. Your friendly local gaming store, when we can go back to friendly local gaming stores, will have a selection of dice that you can buy a la carte. One of these, two of those. Um, they'll also have them by the tube, a full set, a simple set being one, a D4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20. A more complex set having, or a deluxe set having 3 die 6 and 2 D10s, often one of them denoted with 10s for rolling percentile. You can invest $5 for a very basic set without frills, up to as much as you want to spend, because there is such a wealth of dice available out there. I'm researching dice for someone who wanted something special, and there's a company that makes dice out of bone, and you can spend several $1,000s for a set of dice made out of mammoth bones. I'm not kidding. You can spend thousands of dollars on mammoth bone dice. I would never roll them, but they're there. I mean, metal dice, which are terrible to roll on most surfaces. Bring your own thing to roll dice on if you're rolling metal dice at the table. Also, loud as crap. Um, Giant dice and tiny little dice that take forever to read the numbers off of, make everyone at the table hate you. Um, just monstrous variety, which is helped no small amount by a new cottage industry of people casting their own dice at home. I might know some people who are trying to get into that, adding fanciful things to the resin, glitter, flower petals, and so that your dice can actually be an expression of the player or the character that they're being rolled by for. Um, Dice become an extension. And people who play with me mostly know I've got this sitting around. Um, I don't take this to games anymore. I will pack up the most relevant dice, or a 2 or 3 sets of relevant dice in a dice bag, and take that with me. Hopefully returning it here. This is about half of them again. The rest are in dice bags or next to me for use as examples or rolling for my weekly games. I die with random Disney characters on it. I don't know why. Uh, the purpose of most of these being lost to history. Very good friend Brian Sullivan passed away in the late 90s. Was renowned for his dice luck, and he had a big collection of dice, not unlike this one. And so when he passed, my wife and our friend Anna stayed up a couple nights, made little velvet dice bags. We passed his dice out, parsed them out, and put them in the bags, and passed them out at his memorial service, so that people could leave a little bit of his luck. And those are in here. People do develop a relationship with their dice. Dice rituals, how they set them out when they get to the table, how they do or don't let other people roll them, how much of their luck they believe is invested in their dice as opposed to themselves. If you've seen the documentary The Dungeon Masters, occasionally, sometimes people who are a little bit too obsessive about their dice might occasionally put 1 or 2 of them to death as an example to the rest of them not to be bad. They're pieces of plastic. They are going to roll randomly no matter what you do, and that's going to please you. The more chances that you have for that number to be advantageous to you or upset you when they come up with a random number that is not the number you were hoping it was. So dice are for is to provide that random chance that what you're trying to do in your role-playing game isn't going to work. Is the chance of failure that makes the chance the attempt tense and thrilling and gives us that little bit of adrenaline every time one of these leaves our hand and tumbles to the tabletop. I could wax loquacious about dice for much too long, and I think I've covered the basics here. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Thank you very much for following me along on this particular ramble about my dice, one of my passions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I like to help people get into the hobby. It is something that's given me no end of pleasure and inspiration over the years, and I cannot help but want to share that. So any other questions you have? If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. Any other questions, any other subjects you'd like to hear me cover, stories you'd like to hear me tell, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. If you do, you might want to hit the notification bell so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you'd like to help out in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottPorm, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time in the next Matters of DeCorum.